My ex texted, "I miss what we had." I stared at my phone, heart racing, then opened my wedding photos with my wife. I sent them without a word. Minutes later, she replied, shocked and desperate, but I was already gone, living my best life with her. She texted me out of the blue. "I miss what we had." I stared at my phone for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen, unsure whether to laugh or cry. My heart didn't even skip. It felt numb. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Not since the night everything fell apart. Not since she chose him over me. And now, here she was, like no time had passed, dredging up old ghosts. I should have deleted her number years ago, I thought. But old habits die hard. So, I waited. I didn't type anything. I just waited for the right words. Her name flashed again on my screen. I could almost hear her voice in my head, soft but sharp, the way she always had a way of twisting words so they cut just enough. It all started in college. We met in the library of all places, over a shared love for old poetry and terrible coffee. She laughed at my bad puns. I thought I had found someone who could see straight into my soul. She had this magnetic way of smiling that made you forget to breathe. "Why do you always read those sad poems?" I asked once. "Because they're honest," she said, tilting her head. And I like honesty. I liked her honesty too. Or so I thought. We were inseparable for 2 years. Everything felt like it belonged in a movie. Spontaneous road trips, late-night talks about dreams, music playlists we made for each other. I never realized it then, but I was giving her pieces of myself I hadn't given anyone else. But people change, and some change faster than others. It started small. Little lies I brushed off. She said she was busy when she wasn't. She canceled plans with excuses that didn't add up. I told myself it was nothing. Trust her. She's under stress. Then came the bigger ones. Texts I wasn't supposed to see. Laughing at memes with someone else. Late-night phone calls she forgot to tell me about. One night, I confronted her. My voice shook. "Are you seeing someone else?" She looked at me like I was crazy. "Why would you even think that?" "Because your smile isn't the same when you look at me anymore," I wanted to say. But I didn't. I wanted to believe her. A week later, I found out I had been a fool. She had been dating someone else for months. And the worst part? She didn't even try to hide it from him. She only hid it from me. That night broke me. I remember standing outside her apartment, the cold air biting my cheeks, watching her laugh through the window with him. My hands were shaking. I wanted to yell. I wanted to beg. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I walked away. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't fight. I just left. For months, I told myself it was better this way. That heartbreak was supposed to hurt. That healing was supposed to be lonely. But then I met someone new. Someone steady. Someone who didn't play games. Her name was Emily. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't dramatic. She was simple in a way that felt like coming home. She laughed at my bad jokes. She held my hand through late-night anxiety. She reminded me what real love felt like. We built a life slowly, piece by piece. Small adventures, quiet mornings, comfort in the little things. And somewhere along the way, I realized I was happy. Really happy. Until tonight. Her text. "I miss what we had." I stared at it. My stomach twisted. Part of me wanted to reply with something angry. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part of me, the part that hadn't healed fully, wanted to remind her what she lost. I opened my camera roll, and I found it. The pictures from our wedding. I scrolled through, one by one. Images of Emily and me laughing, kissing, holding hands. A life I had built that was mine, that no one could take away. "This is your new life," I whispered to myself. Show her what she lost. And then I typed, her. "I miss what we had." Me. Sent her a picture of me and Emily on our wedding day. There was no text, no explanation, just the image. The wait began. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Then, a reply. Her. Wow. I smiled. It wasn't a smile of gloating. Not exactly. It was a smile of closure, of finality, of power in knowing that I had moved on, and she hadn't broken me. But, of course, she didn't just leave it at that. She tried again. Her. I mean, we could try again. Things were different back then. I laughed this time. A short, incredulous laugh that left me feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. She would never understand that I wasn't the same person anymore, that the boy she broke would never come back. I sat back on my couch, phone still in hand. I thought about all the nights I cried alone, wondering if I'd ever love like that again. All the times I replayed her laughter in my head, trying to convince myself it wasn't all a lie. And now? None of that mattered, because love had found me again. Real love. The kind that doesn't betray, doesn't lie, doesn't vanish when things get messy. I put my phone down, closed my eyes. Somewhere out there, she was realizing that I wasn't hers anymore. And that was enough. Sometimes closure isn't peace, it's distance. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight spilling across our bedroom. Emily still curled next to me, breathing softly. For a moment, I just watched her, the way her hair caught the light, the quiet rhythm of her breathing, and I thought, this is real, this is mine, and it's better than anything I could have imagined with her. I didn't tell Emily about the text. Not yet. There was no need. Some battles aren't worth dragging into someone else's life, but in my mind, I played it over and over, the shock on her face, the message in her hands, the silent truth of what she'd lost. By noon, she texted again. Are you really happy? Really happy. Those words made my chest tighten, because I really was. And I wanted her to feel it, to understand that the boy she left wasn't the boy who responded now. I thought about writing back something poetic, something to make her feel the weight of her choices. Instead, I sent another photo. This one wasn't staged. No smiles, no posed hands. Just Emily laughing, sitting on the porch steps, hair in her face, sun on her skin, utterly unaware of the camera. This is life, I thought, not memories frozen in a past that never really mattered. Her reply came almost instantly. You moved on so fast? I smiled again. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because she still didn't understand. Moving on isn't about speed, it's about choosing yourself. I didn't answer. The texts kept coming that day, each one more desperate than the last. Each one a reminder of the fire she'd started and never put out. I made a mistake. I didn't know what I had. I still love you. Can we meet? Just once, please. Every ping made my stomach churn for a second. Old memories tried to claw their way back. The laughter, the late-night coffee runs, the whispered promises. But then I'd look at Emily, at our life, and the memories turned hollow. They weren't real anymore. Not the way I live now. By evening, I realized something. The power had shifted. For years, I had felt powerless in that relationship. Her decisions, her lies, her charm, it had all controlled me. But tonight, with each text she sent, I was in control. I wasn't begging, pleading, or breaking down. I was calm. I was grounded. I was done being her shadow. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I blocked her, not with rage, not with malice, with quiet certainty. She could text, call, even show up at my door. She wouldn't reach me. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had finally realized that my peace didn't need her validation. And strangely, I felt free. A week later, Emily and I went for a walk along the river near our apartment. It was quiet, the city buzzing softly around us. She held my hand without realizing, and I held hers back just as naturally. I love you, she said suddenly, looking at me. Not in a dramatic, desperate way, but just matter-of-factly, honest, real. I love you too, I replied, squeezing her hand. And in that moment, I realized how far I'd come, how much I had healed, how much I had grown. Because love isn't supposed to haunt you. It's not supposed to make you small or fearful. It's supposed to build you up, make you whole. And Emily did that. Weeks passed. I didn't hear from her again. No texts, no calls, not even a random like on social media. And I didn't care. Sometimes, I'd catch myself thinking about her, a flash of memory, a smell, a song. But it wasn't pain anymore. It was understanding. We were a chapter, I thought. Not the whole book. And that was okay. More than okay. It was necessary. Then, one evening, I got an unexpected notification. A mutual friend had shared a photo from her wedding. She was smiling, beautiful, radiant, but not with him from college. Not with anyone I recognized. Just smiling. A new life. For a second, I felt the old pang of jealousy. A reflex. But it vanished quickly, replaced with a strange sense of empathy. She had her life too. She had moved on. But she hadn't reached me. She hadn't haunted me. She had learned, or at least, life had taught her that you can't rewrite what's gone. And I realized something crucial. She hadn't missed me. She'd missed the idea of me. The boy who loved her unconditionally, who forgave her constantly, who let her mistakes slide. But that boy didn't exist anymore. I didn't exist for her anymore, and I liked that version of myself much better. Emily and I celebrated our first wedding anniversary quietly, just the two of us. No big party, no drama, no reminders of the past, just us. The soft light of the living room, wine in our hands, and laughter echoing off the walls. "Do you ever think about her?" Emily asked gently, as we cleaned up after dinner. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not the way I used to. More like a memory, like a lesson I learned the hard way." She nodded, resting her head on my shoulder. "Good lessons, I hope?" "The best," I whispered, because the truth was, if I hadn't gone through that heartbreak, if I hadn't been forced to rebuild myself from scratch, I might never have found Emily. I might never have realized what real love felt like. Heartbreak had been a cruel teacher, but she had also been a necessary one. Months later, I caught myself laughing at something silly online. My phone buzzed. For a split second, my stomach tightened. My ex? Another message? I looked. It was a wedding announcement from someone I didn't know. A picture of her, smiling again. And this time, I didn't feel jealousy. I didn't feel anger. I felt relief. She had found her life, and so had I. I showed Emily the picture, laughing softly. "Look at that," I said. She moved on too. She smiled, nudging me. "And you didn't even need to reply." "Nope," I said. "Some lessons are best left in the past." Because in the end, closure wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about making her feel anything. It was about understanding that the story had ended, and that the next chapter, ours, was just beginning. I didn't lose her that day. I found myself. Life settled into a rhythm I hadn't thought possible after everything. Emily and I found our little routines, our inside jokes, our quiet ways of saying "I love you" without words. Every corner of our apartment carried memories that weren't about the past anymore, they were ours. But sometimes, late at night, when the world went quiet, I still thought about the first time she texted me. "I miss what we had." The words didn't sting anymore, but they carried a weight I couldn't ignore. Not because she mattered, but because of how fragile love can feel when it's lost. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about the lesson she left behind, about understanding my own worth, about realizing that sometimes people aren't meant to stay. One rainy afternoon, I ran into a friend from college at a cafe. She mentioned my ex in passing. "She's engaged now," my friend said casually, stirring her coffee. "Seems like she's finally settled." I nodded. "Good for her," I said. And it was true. I genuinely meant it. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel bitterness. Just calm, because I had been through it all before. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the late-night doubts, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, ready to protect what I had built instead of longing for what was lost. That night, Emily and I were making dinner when my phone buzzed. I ignored it at first, focusing on chopping vegetables, the sound of the knife against the cutting board oddly therapeutic. Then I glanced at the screen. It was her. No, I didn't open the message. I stared at it for a moment, heart thumping, not out of excitement, not out of fear, but out of curiosity about why she still reached out. And then I remembered something important. Curiosity isn't permission. I deleted it, and in that single, decisive moment, I felt a weight lift. Not of revenge, not of spite, but of freedom. Freedom from carrying pieces of someone else's choices. Freedom from giving energy to a story that no longer involved me. Emily leaned against me, sensing the shift. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Better than okay," I said, smiling. And for the first time in years, I meant it completely. Weeks turned into months. Emily and I took a trip to the mountains, hiking trails and waterfalls, sunsets that made the sky bleed orange and pink. Every moment felt alive. Every laugh felt real. Every touch felt like a reminder that love could be safe, gentle, and all-consuming in the right way. And yet, the past occasionally whispered. Memories of her, the girl who had left me shattered, flickered like ghosts. But they didn't haunt. They didn't matter. I had made peace with them. She was a story I had lived through, not a life I still lived in. One evening, Emily found an old box of letters I had written but never sent. She laughed as she read them, teasing me gently about my teenage angst and dramatic confessions of love. "Wow," she said, "you really put your heart on the line for her." "I did," I admitted, "and it taught me something important. That love isn't about giving everything to someone who won't cherish it. It's about finding someone who will." Emily smiled, squeezing my hand. "Well, you found me." "Yes," I said, and in that moment, I realized that all the heartbreak, all the betrayal, All the nights I spent wondering if I would ever heal had led me to this, to her, to us, to a love that didn't need dramatic texts or manipulative games, a love that was steady, real, and unshakable. Then, just when I thought I had closed every chapter, something unexpected happened. A mutual friend invited me to a casual reunion with old college classmates. I debated going. Part of me wanted to see familiar faces, the kind that didn't carry the baggage of past relationships. Another part worried she might be there. But curiosity, tempered with confidence, won. I went. The night was lighthearted at first. People laughed, swapped stories, and caught up on years of life. Drinks were poured, jokes were cracked. And then, she walked in. Time froze for a second. She looked almost the same, older, yes, but familiar in every way that hurt before. She saw me, our eyes met, and for a split second, I felt that old pang of memory. Then I reminded myself, I wasn't that boy anymore. I nodded politely. A small smile, no guilt, no shame, no lingering feelings. She approached cautiously, like she expected something from me. I didn't think you'd be here, she said softly. I live here, I replied. And that was the truth in more ways than one. I lived here. In this life, in this body, in this story I had rebuilt. She hesitated, then smiled awkwardly. You look happy. I am, I said simply. Not to boast, not to wound, just stating the truth. I was free. I was whole. She looked at me for a moment, then nodded and walked away. And for the first time, I realized I didn't care about her anymore. Not really. Not in a way that would steal my peace. Driving home that night, Emily's hand found mine. Warm, steady, unafraid. I didn't know it would feel this. Good, I said softly. To really leave the past behind. It's because you finally did, she said. You didn't just walk away, you let go. And that's how you found me. I smiled, glancing at her in the moonlight. Yeah, I said. I finally did. Weeks later, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Pictures of her, of us. I paused on one, my chest tightening slightly. Then I swiped again, and there it was, Emily, laughing, her hand in mine. The memory of a moment so perfect it didn't need to exist on a screen to matter. I deleted the old photos. Every single one. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because they belonged in the past. Because they weren't me anymore. Because I had someone now who deserved all the focus, all the love, all the life I had to give. And as the last image disappeared from my phone, I whispered to myself, I didn't lose her. I found myself. Life after that night felt different. Lighter, clearer. The weight of what she had once meant for me had lifted entirely. I realized that I hadn't just moved on, I had grown. I wasn't the same person who had sat outside her apartment in the cold, feeling powerless. I wasn't the boy who had agonized over texts and imagined endless what-ifs. I was someone stronger now. Someone who recognized that love wasn't about clinging to ghosts. It was about embracing the people who built you up, not tore you down. Emily and I started planning our first real home together. A small apartment, nothing extravagant, but it had space to breathe, to live, to laugh. As we painted walls and moved boxes, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. Not the numb kind, not the I'm pretending it's okay kind, but the kind that seeps into your bones. We spent evenings assembling furniture while singing off-key to songs on the radio. I watched her dance in the living room, hair falling in front of her face, the way sunlight hit her just right, and I thought, this is what happiness looks like. Real, messy, alive. One night, after a long day of unpacking, I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone when I saw an old message thread from her. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The temptation to read, to rehash old wounds, was there, but I realized something important. The person I was before didn't exist anymore, and he wasn't coming back. I deleted the thread without hesitation, and as the words disappeared from my screen, I felt a strange, exhilarating sense of finality. The story had ended, not with fireworks, not with dramatic confrontations, not even with anger. It had ended quietly, simply, and perfectly, with me choosing myself. A few days later, Emily suggested a weekend getaway, just the two of us. Somewhere far from city noise, from the constant reminders of life before. We packed a small bag, loaded the car, and drove until the asphalt turned into winding mountain roads. The air smelled different there, fresh, crisp, like every worry we had ever carried had been left behind somewhere in the valleys. We hiked trails where the leaves painted the ground gold, dipped our feet into icy streams, and laughed until our ribs ached. And that's when I realized something. I hadn't just moved on from her, I had moved toward something better, something real, something lasting. That night, under a sky full of stars, Emily and I sat by a small campfire, the flames flickering across her face. I held her hand in mine, feeling the warmth and the weight of everything we had endured to get here. "I'm glad you didn't reply to her," she said softly. "I almost did," I admitted, staring into the fire. But then I realized it wouldn't change anything. She wasn't asking because she cared about me. She was asking because she was selfish. She wanted the boy I used to be. "And now?" Emily asked, squeezing my hand. "Now, I'm someone better," I said. "Someone who knows what he deserves. Someone who has you." Her eyes softened. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," I said, leaning closer. And for a moment, everything else disappeared: the betrayal, the heartbreak, the endless nights of wondering what went wrong. All that remained was us, and it was enough. Back home, life continued with its small routines and quiet joys. I didn't think about her anymore, not really. Occasionally, a memory would surface, a faint echo of the boy I used to be, but it no longer had power over me. I threw myself into my work, spent evenings cooking with Emily, and made space for new memories: picnics in the park, late-night drives with the windows down, lazy Sundays in bed. Each moment built on the last, each laugh, each touch, each shared secret a testament to the life we were creating together. And the more I focused on the present, the more I realized that the past had its place and it wasn't here anymore. Months later, while organizing old files, I found something I didn't expect: a letter I had written to her long ago, one I never sent. My hands trembled slightly as I unfolded the paper. The words were raw, desperate, filled with longing and heartbreak. I read them once, twice, then I tore it up. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because those words belonged to someone I no longer was. The boy who had written that letter would never hurt like that again. The boy who had loved her unconditionally was gone. In his place was a man who loved wisely, fiercely, and completely Emily. Then came the day Emily and I made it official. Not with drama, not with a grand announcement, but with a quiet ceremony in a small garden, surrounded by friends who had watched us grow. We exchanged vows that weren't about perfection, they were about honesty, about resilience, about choosing each other every single day. When she said my name, I felt the years of pain, heartbreak, and growth fall away. And when I said hers, I knew without a doubt that the past no longer mattered, because I had finally learned that love wasn't about who left or who returned. It was about who stayed, who showed up, who built something real, something lasting. A few weeks after the wedding, I got a notification on my phone, a social media post. She had gotten married. The caption read something simple: smiles, a new beginning, a life moving forward. For a moment, I felt the faintest tug of memory, but it was fleeting. And then I laughed softly, looking at Emily. "She's happy," I said. "I'm glad," Emily replied, leaning against me. And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed it. Not because I cared about her happiness, not because I was thinking of old wounds, but because I understood the truth. Closure wasn't revenge. Closure wasn't guilt. Closure was life moving forward. We sat together on the porch that evening, the world around us quiet and soft. Emily's head rested on my shoulder, and I felt the warmth of the life we had built, brick by brick, choice by choice. I didn't lose her that day, I thought. I found myself, and I found something better, something real. The wind carried the faint scent of autumn leaves, and I realized that the past, with all its mistakes and heartbreak, had done its job. It had taught me, shaped me, and ultimately led me to this: a love I could trust, a life I could cherish, a future I could embrace without fear. Some lessons hurt to learn, but they are worth it. Life after that autumn evening settled into something quiet, steady, and real. Emily and I had routines, yes, but they were comforting rather than confining. Morning coffee together, shared playlists, lazy Sunday mornings where we didn't even get out of bed until noon. Each day felt like a small miracle, the kind you notice in fleeting moments. The way her hair fell across her face when she laughed, the way her hand fit perfectly in mine, the way our conversations never felt forced. I had finally learned how to recognize love when it was safe, when it wasn't wrapped in games, manipulation, or heartache. Real love wasn't about longing for what was lost. It wasn't about chasing ghosts. Real love was about being present, and I was fully present now. Then, one evening, I found myself walking through a familiar street, the kind of street I had once walked countless times with her. I almost stopped, almost turned down the familiar path, but something inside me, something stronger, something wiser told me to keep walking. It was liberating, freeing. I realized then that I had truly let go, not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because I no longer needed to carry her. I no longer needed her validation. I no longer needed the boy I had been. I was someone new, someone better, someone loved. The days rolled into months. Seasons changed. Emily and I went on trips we had once only dreamed about: road trips across the coast, nights in small cabins in the mountains, evenings watching fireworks over city skylines. Every adventure was ours. Every memory was ours. And the past, the girl who had once texted me saying she missed what we had, faded further into the background. Occasionally, I saw a news article or a social media update about her, engaged, married, happy, and each time, I felt nothing. Not bitterness, not jealousy, nothing but understanding, because the girl I had loved so desperately wasn't the person I was anymore, and I didn't want her to be. One rainy afternoon, Emily and I were sitting by the window, the rain streaking the glass like liquid silver. I watched her read a book, her hair damp from the drizzle, a contented smile playing at her lips, and I thought about how much I had changed, about how much I had grown, about how much heartbreak had taught me without ever asking for my permission. "Do you ever think about her?" Emily asked softly, looking up from her book. I paused, choosing my words carefully. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not in a way that hurts. Just as a memory, as a lesson, and mostly as a reminder of why I needed you." Emily's eyes softened. "I'm glad you found me," she said. "And I'm glad I found you," I whispered. Weeks later, we moved into our new apartment together. The walls were bare at first, but we filled them with laughter, photographs, small pieces of our life. Each picture, each memory, each small artifact was a reminder that the life we were building wasn't borrowed. It wasn't left behind. It was ours, and somewhere deep inside me, I knew that nothing from the past could touch it. Not the betrayal, not the heartbreak, not the girl who had once haunted my nights with what-ifs. Because I had learned that love, real love, isn't about fighting to reclaim someone, it's about choosing someone who will fight for you. And Emily did, every single day. Then came the day when closure arrived in its quietest form. I got a notification on my phone, her wedding photo. She was radiant, smiling, surrounded by friends and family. My stomach clenched for a fraction of a second before relaxing completely. I looked at Emily, sitting beside me, and I realized something profound. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't angry. I wasn't longing for the past. I was happy, purely, undeniably, unshakably happy. And in that moment, I understood the final truth. She hadn't missed me. She had missed the version of me that existed when I let her hurt me. But that boy was gone. The man I had become, the man who loved Emily, who had learned his own worth, was here, and he didn't belong to her anymore. I deleted the photo, not out of spite, not out of revenge, out of love for myself, for Emily, for the life we had built together. Years passed. Emily and I celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and quiet nights in with the same intensity and joy that people chase their whole lives. Every laugh, every embrace, every whispered, "I love you," was a victory over the heartbreak that had once defined me. One evening, as we sat together on our porch, the city lights twinkling in the distance, I thought back to the night she had texted me. I miss what we had. I remembered the longing, the pain, the disbelief, and I smiled, not bitterly, not nostalgically, but gratefully, because that moment had led me here, to Emily, to a love that didn't haunt, to a life that didn't demand I give pieces of myself away. I leaned against Emily, resting my head on hers, and whispered quietly, "I didn't lose her that day. I found myself." She smiled, pressing her hand over mine. "And you found me too." I closed my eyes, feeling the rhythm of life around us, the comfort of love earned, and the quiet strength of a heart that had been broken and rebuilt. I realized that sometimes the best endings aren't loud. They aren't dramatic. They're quiet. They're real. Because closure isn't about punishment. It's about freedom. It's about learning. It's about moving forward. And I had done all three. The past was a chapter, and I had turned the page. Some lessons hurt to learn, but the right ones make all the difference. And with that, I finally understood what it meant to truly be free, to truly love, to truly live.